Gay. Sweet Annalie was always a really interesting episode because the first time I saw it I felt a little jarred by how the episode wraps up, and not in a bad way. Before I really got into shows and movies and writing, I would just kind of call it the episode where nothing bad happened, because it is a really uncynical outlook at certain characters whose roles are really ingrained into you, despite the episode's antagonists who are pretty classic cartoon villain types. By the end of this episode, I was expecting Twilight and the friends to be mad with Rarity, but that's just never the case. Because this episode isn't about lying to your friends, it's about self-confidence and where you get it. And where do you buy self-confidence? The friendship store. In this episode, Rarity travels to Canterlot for some reason. Where she talks about her want to become a city socialite like the ponies around her in Canterlot. When she's approached by two high society ponies, they are quick to turn their noses up at her despite her keen fashion sense. Rarity is very caught up with how high-class ponies see her. She is severely upset by high-class ponies seeing her as anything less than them, and gets caught up in how they affect her. She's obsessed with her image, and with that, her self-confidence becomes fragile because of it. In a fit of spite, she designs an over-the-top dress to gift to Twilight for her birthday party that is upcoming to show these Canterlot ponies how impressive she can be. She designs something outrageous and huge, but even as a viewer, you're like caught up in the moment and shouting, "Yeah, Rarity, you show 'em!" And as the episode progresses, you notice her putting off the dress in favor of meeting with these Canterlotians and basically networking. She wants to be a high-class pony, but she always wants to impress with her sense of fashion. Rarity ends up meeting Fancy Pants, who is a kinder, high-class pony who likes her taste and invites her to an exclusive event where she shows off her knowledge of subjects she might otherwise not be versed in if it wasn't for her connection to her friends, and is quickly seen as the pony to know and becomes instantly popular with the other city ponies. So, when given a chance to sport her true self, her own individual taste that is expanded because of her friends, reminding us that her connection with her friends is still important, she shines. She wants people to notice her, but it's important to her that she's seen as her genuine self. She always strives to be unabashedly herself. But despite this, she still knows what it's like to have her ego bruised, to be alienated because of where she's from, and so does go to great lengths to cover up where she is from. Which I guess could be read as a race allegory. She intends to head home for her friend's birthday party, but she's stopped by an invitation from the exact ponies who turn their noses up at her from being from Ponyville. So I guess you could definitely read this as a race allegory. And of course she desperately wants to attend, not even for malicious reasons or anything. She still wishes to project a good image of herself, even to ponies who wouldn't treat her right even before that. Rarity decides to write a letter home saying that her cat is too sick and she must miss the party altogether, and so her friends decide to surprise her in Canterlot by bringing the party to her, which is so sweet, and Rarity is pleasantly surprised when Twilight is happy with the dress that Rarity ended up making, and there's a real feeling of relief, but it's fleeting once Rarity begins to lie to her friends, and that's Rarity's fault, is lying to her friends about the situation, and by the end of the episode, we as a viewer now understand that things would have been much different had she been honest, but we also understand where Rarity is coming from for lying. She's terrified of being found out by these high-class rich snobs. And if these ponies found out, in her mind, then she has no worth. And her comeuppance comes from running herself ragged, trying to mask a part of her true self. When Rarity stops being true, things stop going well for her. So she lies and gets mixed up in this whole 2 dates, 1 dance sort of situation, or in this case, 2 dances, 1 date. And it all culminates when Twilight realizes that Rarity has been sneaking off to the fancier garden party. And to my own personal surprise when watching this the first time, Twilight is delighted to hear that Rarity has been making connections in Canterlot and offers to go with their friends to the garden party. Yeah, they just like invite themselves to the party. You can read this as being kind of rude, but honestly, I doubt any of them like really understood what kind of party it was like. And Twilight like grew up there, but even she can't read the room. And that's probably for other reasons. Anyway, so they storm the party, and it sort of makes a mess of things. Nothing too crazy, and Applejack's the best part of this episode.
This is the garden party, ain't it?
But they are a little disruptive, and when one of the Canterlights asks about Twilight's dress, her abysmal dress, she's delighted to point Rarity's way, proud of her accomplished friend. So then Rarity is faced with the dilemma, the choice, her friends from Ponyville, or her acquaintances from Canterlot. Now, this episode is a little weird for me. It's one of my favorites, but for some reason the stakes never feel high in the places that you expect them to be. Going into the episode, I thought stakes would be high because Rarity had lied to her friends, and now her friends may be mad at her, but instead the stakes are more personal. This is Rarity versus herself, more than anything. In her final speech admitting her truth that Twilight and the other ponies are her dear friends, Rarity says, "They are the most important ponies I know. But up until now, it wasn't that she didn't question how important her friends were, but it was about whose opinion truly mattered to her." At the beginning of the episode, she says offhandedly that even if she puts off the dress, her friends will appreciate what she does no matter what it is. And it's almost kind of backhanded. Like, who cares? They're my friends. They have to love me. I mean, Rarity doesn't say it that way, but that's how it's poised up against the other side, which was to attend a fancy event that would be seen by ponies whom she deemed as very important, despite not even knowing any of them personally. And what happens is she does end up putting off the dress, and her friends do love it no matter what, because she made it and they love her. But it was in that moment, when she's been exposed to the garden party, that she realized that that right there is what makes them important. Not whether they are rich or sophisticated or even trendy, but that they love her. They are important because they are her friends, and not the other way around. And it doesn't matter if stuck-up high-class ponies who don't think for themselves think less of her, because her self-confidence no longer hinders on being anything less than her 100% genuine self, and that includes the ponies she loves and love her. The letter to Celestia reads like, "You are the product of your home and your friends, and that is always something to be proud of, no matter what." And I'll be honest, I teared up a little writing that. I love the show a lot. But it's not just that. It's about choosing whose opinions you allow to shape you as you grow. It's kind of funny, there's like this scene at the beginning when like Celestia brings Rarity into the room that she's going to be staying while she's in Canterlot, and it's so nice and lavish, and Rarity's thanking her so much, like, "Oh, thank you, it's such a big deal." And Celestia's like, it's not a big deal, don't worry about it. And behind them is this like pony who's like struggling to hold up all of Rarity's like bags and stuff like that, and he's just being ignored. And it just like shows how like Rarity is more caught up in like seeming kind and generous to like high status ponies rather than people who like are important and like caring for her goods and stuff like that. Like, I wish there was a scene at the very end where she like tips the bellhop really well, or she like carries her bags by herself while he like gets a break and stuff. And it shows thematically just how her idea of preserving self-image has changed. I just thought it would be really cool. Honestly, the worst part about this whole episode is Pinky's party canon, because the fans never forgot, and neither did the writers.
Come on, you guys! Let's show them how to party! Ponyville style!